Thanks, Sophie. Hello and welcome to Look North. Our top story tonight. Under pressure, A&E departments already feeling the strain as hospitals brace themselves for winter.
So if you come with a condition that is not an significant accident and not an emergency, you will wait 10, 11 hours plus because we have to focus on people who really need us.
We'll also hear from a Keighley GP surgery that's cutting how long it takes to see a doctor. Also tonight, the pensioners left stranded as the Tockwith bus company threatens to withdraw all services from the village. The young brothers running, cycling and walking 100 miles, all for a good cause. And we meet the 14-year-old Sheffield diver with a serious head for heights.
Oh, what a fantastic day it's been. This was Upper Wharfdale earlier this afternoon. What about the next few days? Join me for the very latest.
Good evening. Senior doctors are urging people to use hospital services wisely, as latest data shows the pressure on the NHS is increasing. In September, more than 120,000 patients visited a Type 1 main emergency department at one of the 13 trusts in our region. Now, the government say 95% of patients should be dealt with within 4 hours. But here that figure was 62%, although this doesn't include the waiting time figures for Mid Yorkshire or Rotherham trusts where the data wasn't available. Meanwhile, ambulances should respond to Category 2 emergency calls, which include heart attacks and strokes, in an average of 18 minutes. Last month, the average for Yorkshire Ambulance Service was over 40 minutes. Tonight, we're looking at some of the pressures facing the health and social care system in West Yorkshire and some of the solutions. In a few minutes, we'll look at how GPs are coping. But first, here's our health correspondent, Jamie Coulson, who's been to Pinderfields Hospital in Wakefield.
So this is our majors department, obviously in Pinderfields A&E. We have 42 cubicles here, but they're all full. And so obviously we're now managing patients on our corridors.
At Pinderfields Hospital, as in trusts across the region, the pressure on A&E has been intense and sustained. As we head into winter, those pressures are likely to increase as the threat of COVID and flu add to the challenge.
Just breathe in and out through your mouth for me, my love.
82-year-old Robert Scurrer was brought into A&E with breathing difficulties on his birthday. He's being treated in the resus area for the most poorly patients, where every bed is full.
I've had it 4 or 5 days, and coming in today to get some swift and efficient treatment, professionally done, has been the best birthday present I've ever had.
He's obviously got signs of significant shortness of breath and probably a chest infection. And he's absolutely the kind of person who should be coming to A&E, using our ambulance services and being admitted to hospital.
Before the pandemic, the department might typically treat between 700 and 750 patients a day. Now it's routinely over 850, with some days over 900. Many patients are emergencies, but not all.
So we absolutely are here for people who are critically ill and injured. And as I've said, the strokes, the heart attacks, that's what we want to see. But at least 25%, sometimes as much as 40% of our cases could be better managed by somebody else. We're seeing people coming through with coughs, colds, sneezes, a lot of people with conjunctivitis. This is not A&E work. This should be managed by your GP, out in the community by the pharmacist, or you can buy medicines over the counter at the supermarkets.
One of the big challenges facing hospitals is not just the sheer volume of patients coming in through the accident and emergency department, but also making sure there are enough beds in the main hospital to look after those who are sick enough to be admitted. And key to that is making sure that patients are supported to leave when they're medically fit. Otherwise, the whole system can back up.
I could try and get her out for 5, 6 o'clock.
That would be nice.
In A&E, a social worker helps to prevent admissions by organising support for patients who might need extra help.
If they don't need to be formally admitted because they're not unwell, it's my job to get them out of hospital to a place of safety and with appropriate care.
My name's Dr. Savitska.
In the main hospital, 84-year-old Joan Jakes was admitted 4 days ago with a chest infection. She's about to become the first patient at the trust to be cared for on what's called a virtual ward. It means she can go home but will remain under consultant care and have regular nurse visits. Doctors say it will be better for patients and reduce pressure on beds.
Who wants to be in hospital, honestly? I mean, to say, yippee, we're going to hospital today. Yes, no one.
This enables Joan to go home a few days early, have her care delivered like she would at a hospital, so her intravenous antibiotics, and means that she can be supported by her family and the people she loves.
The coming months are expected to be challenging despite the preparations, with many on the front line bracing themselves for the winter ahead. Jamie Coulson, BBC Look North.
Well, since the coronavirus pandemic, patients have been reporting difficulties in accessing primary care. With an increasing number of people feeling ill during the winter months, demand for GP appointments continues to rise. Hannah Gray has been to find out what one Yorkshire practice is doing to cope with the growing pressure.
It's another very busy day at this GP practice in Keighley. Although demand for appointments is up, GPs are trying to keep hospital visits down. As winter approaches, though, it's a challenging time.
Tess, do you want to come through? I think this winter, more than any other before, is going to be a difficult one. And the reasons for that are complex. We are short of doctors, we are very short of nurses, and these are challenges that NHS England are well aware of, and I'm sure in due course we'll have solutions, but not in time for this Christmas.
So some of our viewers are telling us that they're waiting 45 minutes or an hour on the phone, feeling really frustrated just trying to get an appointment. You can see why they end up taking themselves to A&E, can't you?
It's very true, and we recognise the difficulty that many patients face in contacting us. There is a common perception that if you don't phone at 8 o'clock in the morning, then you don't have a chance of an appointment. What we're trying to do, and what we've done successfully, is widen that doorway.
Hello, Doctor Surgery, can I help?
This team take around 600 calls every day. They have new software that provides a callback, so patients don't have to wait on the phone. They're also encouraging people to go online for results or repeat prescriptions. And they're referring people to other healthcare professionals so they can be seen quicker.
Waiting on the phone is always a frustrating experience, no matter who you're ringing up. On the basis that I have already been triaged to some extent by the call handler, then yes, I accept their expertise in that respect.
So my name's Adil, I'm one of the pharmacists here.
And although this may be a new experience for some patients, the specialists here say it gives faster and better quality care.
I've had patients actually tell me that they prefer speaking to a pharmacist because sometimes we have a bit more time to go through medications with them or explain it to them and go through it in more detail than maybe they would get in a GP appointment.
The aim is for all surgeries to provide a wider range of easy-to-access services, but primary care staff serve a growing, ageing population, and they're facing an incredibly testing winter ahead. Hannah Gray, BBC Look North, Keighley.
Well, Dr James Thomas is the Medical Director for West Yorkshire Integrated Care Board. I asked him how worried he was.
So at this point, the pressures are building and they are serious. But saying that, I think you've seen from the piece how we're changing our way of working to try and cope with that and doing that quickly, whether it's across primary care, whether it's in our hospitals or with our local authority.
And can services cope?
Yes, services can cope, but we will have to do things differently, which means patients and people at home will experience the services in different ways, perhaps in the traditional way. And I think it's important that we understand those different roles.
That's just one example of how we can help. Have you got any others?
So I think probably the most important thing at this point is making sure that, look, if you're eligible to have the flu vaccine, go and get your flu vaccine there. If you're eligible to have the COVID vaccine, go and get that, because we know that will help us and help individuals and also protect your own family as well there. So that's one thing there. I think there are also other aspects where we can make sure that using the NHS app, using 111 before you go to thinking, should I go to A&E? Well, go online, go into 111 there.
How are you going to go about recruiting extra staff? Because that is one of the main problems here, isn't it?
There's no doubt that our workforce is challenged at the moment, both in terms of numbers and in terms of the demand there. But they really are, they're working extremely hard, we're not going to get suddenly a whole load of new people coming in overnight just for winter there. So it's about how do we work differently more and be able to kind of deliver those services. And that's where I think we need to kind of bring the public along to ensure they understand actually they may be working differently, but they're trying to get the right care at the right time for that person.
Just very briefly, how worried are you about COVID and flu this winter?
The numbers with COVID and flu are increasing. There's no doubt about that. That's having a knock-on effect in our hospitals. And there's also all the other respiratory viruses as well there. So it is significant, and that's why it's really important we get the vaccine if you're eligible.
Good advice, James. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're watching Thursday's Look North. Still to come on tonight's programme.
Get ready to roar as the Sheffield Tigers Speedway team prepare for the biggest night in their history.
Next tonight, a North Yorkshire village could soon lose its bus service, leaving it without any public transport at all. The service through Tockwith is a vital lifeline for many, but the bus company, which is based in the village, says it's running at a loss. Nicola Rees has spent the day in the village.
Right, I've got my bus pass, OK, and I'll see you later. Okay.
Diane Wakelin relies on her local bus service in Tockwith, but her journeys are becoming increasingly frustrating.
Well, the bus is late now. It's 6 minutes past 1, and it can vary. It could be up to 20 minutes late.
Diane's bus to York is frequently late and sometimes cancelled. Now she's had the news that the service is to be scrapped altogether.
You want to stay independent, and I think that's being diminished. If they take this service off, we've got nothing. As you get older, your reflexes aren't as good, you don't feel as confident, so you rely on public transport to get you from A to B.
Diane's bus arrives and all's well for now, but the company says it can't continue to operate its Wetherby to York service at a loss. Over the road, another resident is desperate to save her only form of transport.
So where are you off to today, Anne?
I'm going into Wetherby shopping.
And how important then is this bus service for you?
It's everything. It's vital, because without it, I'm completely stuck because I don't drive.
So let's see if it's on time, shall we? Should we go and have a look?
Yes, hopefully it will be.
Not having a licence means Anne uses the bus here at least twice a week, and she's worried about what she'll do without it.
If I need the hospital, I need the bus. Dentist, I need the bus. Opticians, I need the bus. You know, some of us use it all the time.
Away we go.
Anne wants answers, and we don't have to travel far to get them, as the company's headquarters is just down the road.
So you've got a bus company here that's based in Tockwith, and yet you're withdrawing services for local people. What's going on?
We've operated the service for a long time, and it's run at a loss for quite a long time. But we obviously, with the massive increase in costs that we've had just recently, the same as everybody's suffering from, it's kind of come to a head. It's not something we want to do. We want to keep running the service. We're hoping that some of the local councils will find some money to subsidise it, which will then allow us to carry on operating.
Craig's message to people living on the route of the 412 service is to use it or lose it.
I can't believe that we won't have a bus. It's ridiculous. Thank you.
The route's due to be withdrawn in December, something that Anne can't bear to think about. Nicola Rees, BBC Look North, Tockwith.
Well, we've contacted North Yorkshire County Council for a response, but they haven't got back to us yet. Let's get some news in brief now. And a car became wedged between a building and a wall after crashing off a road in Sheffield. The vehicle ended up in a gap after swerving off Damer Street and through railings into Sheffield's Children's Hospital. Police say the driver wasn't injured in the crash and the vehicle was retrieved shortly afterwards. North Yorkshire Police have arrested 27 people during a national week of action to tackle county lines drug dealing. The arrests took place across North Yorkshire, where police also recovered 2 bladed weapons, £5,000 in cash and £10,000 worth of suspected drugs. Anyone with concerns about county lines can speak to their local police on 111 or call 999 in an emergency. Now, the UK's largest annual Lights Festival has returned to Leeds for tonight and tomorrow and is expected to draw huge crowds. Several light shows are being held throughout the city for 2 nights using an array of technology to create stunning displays. Most events hosted as part of Leeds Light Night are free and do not require a ticket. The first performance is already underway. Pressure on the government to step in and help Doncaster Sheffield Airport is growing. Today, a petition with over 100,000 signatures was handed to the Department of Transport. And in the House of Commons, the new Transport Secretary was pushed by MPs to meet them to see what could be done to help keep the airport open. She declined to meet them. Our political editor, James Vincent, reports.
Doncaster Sheffield Airport open.
In her first Prime Minister's questions, the Prime Minister and her Transport Secretary were asked what they'd do to support Doncaster's airport.
She's already contacting the people in Doncaster and Sheffield to make sure we do protect this airport.
5 weeks later, and just a couple of weeks before the airport sees its final flight, people working there are not sure that anything's been done.
I don't think they're listening at all. If they have the powers, as Liz Truss said, to protect the airport, hasn't done. Or certainly it doesn't look as if she has.
Steve's a firefighter at the airport, and today he went down to London with colleagues and his union to give the government a 100,000 signature petition calling for the airport to stay open.
The company that owns it doesn't think it's viable. Why not sell it? Why not move it on to somebody else? There are investors out there who want to look at it.
The GMB says 800 people will lose their jobs there if it closes, and the union thinks it'll cost nearly 3,000 jobs in total in businesses surrounding the aviation industry. Pressure for help is coming from both sides of politics.
I'm not going to stop fighting until there are literally no other options left.
We need to keep the pressure on, and we need to make sure that people do the right thing.
And there was extra pressure on the Transport Secretary today.
Louise Haig.
What did the Prime Minister mean when she said she would protect Doncaster Sheffield Airport?
Mr Speaker, as I say, we continue to show that support for our regional airports, but at the end of the day, this is an airport held in ownership by Peel Group, and we want to continue to work with them, as I have said.
Private companies, of course, can do what they want with their land and businesses. They don't have to sell it. But it's thought £100 million worth of public money has been spent to support that area, a huge piece of land that may not have landings for much longer. James Vincent, BBC Look North.
Now, two young brothers from Bingley are running, cycling and walking 100 miles to raise money for a very good cause. Tom and Max are 6 and 8 and have a 2-year-old brother, Leo, with Down syndrome. They're fundraising for the charity which helps him. Carla Fowler has been to meet them.
They've walked the streets, ridden their bikes, and every day at school, brothers Max and Tom add more miles to their tally. They have to complete 100 miles by the end of October, and today they've just passed the halfway point. Aged just 8 and 6, Max and Tom are raising money for the Bingley Down syndrome charity that helps their family. Their little brother, 2-year-old Leo, has Downs.
He's fun. Sometimes he grabs things in our house and breaks them, like our TV.
And what's it like having to run and walk this many miles?
Really tiring. Yeah, it is quite tiring.
And are your friends helping you, all these people?
A lot.
They're doing 100 miles in October to raise money for our local Down syndrome charity at Bingley, who offer an immense support for families like us and young adults. So it goes from prenatal support right through to young adults. So 51.2 miles, so they're halfway there, and they've got a couple of more big events coming up.
The children at school have been learning Makaton sign language because Leo uses it. Menston Primary School has been with the boys every step of the way.
It's our school motto to try to make our world a better place, and our children are 100, and our families as well, are 100% behind anybody that tries to do that.
I mean, they've just had their lunch, and they're out here in the sun running around. So yeah, we're banging the drum for Down syndrome in Bingley.
We all like Leo, and it's helping his charity a lot. I really want to help my friend and his little brother, Leo.
And with every mile, the brothers are giving back to a charity that's helped them and hundreds of families like them. Carla Fowler, BBC Look North, Menston.
Hooray Indeed. Congratulations to them. I'm sure the parents are very proud. Now, the Sheffield Tigers Speedway team are pulling out all the stops tonight in their effort to win their first ever top flight league title. The Tigers face Bellevue in the second leg of the Premiership Grand Final, and Sally Hurst sent this report ahead of tonight's action.
Welcome to the Ollerton Stadium, where tonight the Sheffield Tigers will try to bring home that Premiership title. It will be the first time in their history if they manage to do it. They are trailing though by 12 points following the first leg on Monday in Manchester, but it's all still to play for. Simon Stead, you're the team manager. Can they do it?
Of course. I'm confident, and I think so the lads. So we've been dominant here. It's a fast racing track, and it's one that we've been riding very, very well at, certainly of late. So it's all to play for. It's looking at numbers, 12 points. We've beaten Bellevue by more than 12 points the last couple of times we've raced them. But it's a different night. It's the grand final. So let's hope we get a big crowd in, and it will be an exciting one. I see it going down to the wire, but I'd like it to be wrapped up a little bit earlier.
And the crowd, you are expecting a bumper crowd tonight. How do they affect the riders? Can they even hear them over the roar of the bikes?
You'd be surprised, actually. With a big crowd in, they can be our eighth man. They have been all season. We've had great support here and on the road, and it would be nice to give something back to them, and nothing better than a Premiership title.
What does it mean for you personally, do you think, if you were to do it tonight?
Well, look, my first memories of this place go back to coming here as a kid, watching as a fan. So I've been a fan, I've been a rider, and I'm now the manager. We've had great success in the second division of British Speedway, and we've now progressed into the Premiership. And for a team or a club that's been established from sort of the late 1920s to have never won the Premiership title is it's criminal, really. So it would make me very proud to be able to do it, but I know the lads are really up for it as well, and they can write themselves down into Sheffield history tonight, so that's what we're going for.
It's a huge night. Good luck, Simon. The 15 heats stand between the Tigers and that title. It all starts at 7:30 tonight. Supporters are being urged to bring not only their voices and their energy, but their hooters and their foam hands, just to make sure that this is a night to remember.
I'm sure it will be. Now, if you're scared of heights, you might want to look away now, but it seems 14-year-old Archie, here he is, has no fear. He trains with Sheffield Diving Club in Ponds Forge and is already making a name for himself, cliff diving as well. Paul Ogden went along to see him in action.
Hi, I'm Archie, I'm 14 and I'm a diver from Sheffield Diving Club. I started coming here when I was 6, mainly because I used to love jumping off stuff at school, on like walks, on everything like that. So my parents thought it was a good idea to get me into this, so I'm jumping into water rather than just jumping onto grass or anything like that. When I went to a competition in Plymouth one time, they were doing this like high diving workshop with Aidan Heslop, who you might know, he's a Red Bull diver, and I really enjoyed that. So when I got back to Sheffield, I started doing more of that, like a little bit of that stuff. I did one competition in Switzerland, Pontybrüller. I was going off cliffs there, which I came 4th in, which was really good. So it kind of started on the 10-metre platform, and that's kind of gone up to cliff level and like higher boards.
Good man, that for me is way better on the start. It's just got a little bit more of the on the end.
I can't hold a hand when they're on the end of the board, you know. I can give them all of the advice, all the things, but they have to be able to do it themselves on the end of the board, and knowing that he has the ability to focus when it really matters is really helpful to me as a coach, but obviously imperative to him as a diver. I wouldn't say that he's fearless, he feels the fear, but he's so courageous he's able to do it anyway, and I think that's an amazing attribute to have.
Yeah!
Whoa! They're very like welcoming to younger divers, so when they see, they love it. I think they love to see divers that are starting high diving, and like hopefully they can dive with them someday. So I think they really love it. They treated me like a fellow athlete rather than just a kid who was coming to compete.
He's easily better than me at high diving, but if you can get better than me at diving, I'll be a happy coach.
I think diving really helps with discipline later in life, but also it helps your bravery. So if you want a new challenge, then I seriously recommend taking up diving, because it's very good to test yourself, test your limits.
Oh, Archie, you're amazing, but I don't know how his parents watch him. I hope my little girl wants to do chess or something a bit less.
Imagine diving off the top of that cliff.
I cannot.
It's absolutely unbelievable. Right, let me show you a couple of pictures of great interest. The first one, that is the ruins of the old church at Lady Bar Reservoir, and I have just got Yorkshire Water's figures in, even though Severn Trent own that one. 34%, which is, you know, a little bit of a surprise, because we have had some rain, but they're stuck at 34%, and we're in the middle of October, so loads of rain needed to get them anywhere near normal for next year. And this is quite an unusual sight as well. This is a fog bow that was taken in Todmorden. That's caused by, if I remember rightly, it's a diffraction process rather than a refraction process, which is when you get your coloured rainbow. There we are, I'm sure you're bored with that fact. Is that correct?
Yes, I looked it up last week.
Oh, did you really? Now let's have a look at the headline. The addresses, if you want to get the pictures on the telly, Twitter, Instagram and the Weather Watcher website. And Keeley will be selecting them on tomorrow night's Look North. I bet you can't wait. Let's have a look at the headline then for tomorrow. Plenty of sunshine again. I mean, it's been a beautiful day today. Tomorrow there is a risk of a few showers, especially later in the day. A very unsettled looking chart, but don't run away with the idea it's going to be a washout. Far from it. I think Saturday sunshine and scattered showers. This feature will bring some rain, but probably not until later on Sunday afternoon. It's going to be windy throughout. And then, although there's some uncertainty, it looks like pressure will build. So early next week is looking mostly fine. And there's a satellite picture showing just how clear it's been today. Hardly a cloud in the sky. Temperatures have reached 15 degrees. So very quiet conditions to come through this evening and overnight. A mix of patchy fog, some cloud that might bring 1 or 2 showers into the west. Not as cold as last night. We're expecting lowest temperatures down to around about 6 or 7 degrees. So tomorrow's high water time, Scarborough 7:26, Bridlington at 7:42. So I think most of us off to a dry, bright start. Some patchy fog, that will clear, but for much of Yorkshire, I think tomorrow morning it's another dazzling autumn day, or morning, should I say, with some sunshine. There's a weather front that threatens some showery outbreaks of rain into the northwest later in the afternoon, and that will push southeastwards through tomorrow evening. Quite mild, highs of 16 degrees. Saturday then a blustery day with sunny spells and scattered showers. Very windy Saturday night. Sunday fine and sunny at first, with the risk of some rain later in the day. Keeley,
thank you very much.
That's the forecast.
34% is really surprising, isn't it? I'm shocked by that.
Yeah, 34%.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll recover this winter, but it's by how much?
Thank you very much. We'll be back later. Bye-bye.